we want to make sure that you master the Python and you master it well. So anything that has to do with Python, we are taking our time to dive deep into it. And then from there, we will be able to understand and master Python in terms of the basics, in terms of the object-oriented programming, in terms of the data structures and algorithms. And then once we are done, then we move to the next session, which will be the machine learning. Okay. So I want you guys to follow along with me. We are trying to understand when it comes to Python, what is it about and what are some of the syntax and also what are some of the semantics and all that within Python. So this is the first AI bootcamp, and today we are looking at the basics. Then we dive into the variables, the data types, the operators, and also we open the floor for any questions or any responses or contributions. If you want to follow along and be more interactive, you can request and then come and join on the live session. Else, you can code alongside me. Okay. All right. So basically today, as I said, we are looking at the basics, which is the Python basis. Please, if everything is clear, you let me know by typing yes at the comment section so that I will know that you guys are hearing me well and all that. So basically today what we are doing is we are looking at the basics. Okay. So we are going to handle the semantics and also the syntax. Then from there we will look at the variables. Then from there we will look at the data types and also the operators. Okay. But before we dive deep into all this, remember I told you you need to install what we call Anaconda. Anaconda will help you to be able to have all the environments and also dependencies installed. Okay. So if you have the Anaconda installed, all you need to do is to just activate it. Okay. So in the process of you activating your Anaconda, you just open a terminal. So you can just search for any terminal using the Visual Studio Code. Okay. So once you get any terminal, you can just run and then you install the Anaconda. So I think you guys followed that previous video. Okay. So today what we are looking at is basically the semantics and then the syntax. All right. So if you want to join, before I start, if you want to join, you can request and come up. If you also want to code along whilst you are watching, that's fine. So I want it to be interactive. You can request and come up, and then I'll be asking some questions whilst we follow along. All right. Okay, so today basically what we are looking into is the syntax and semantics in Python. Okay, and we have some kind of things that we need to understand. Okay, the reason why you are seeing video outlines because you remember we will be recording this and then we posting on YouTube. So anytime you miss anything, you can then go to YouTube and consume it. So we have a single line comment and multi-line comments in Python. The same thing, we have syntax and semantics, and then we have some basic syntax rules in Python that you need to understand. We also have some understanding of semantics in Python, and we will be looking into some of the syntax errors and also how you could avoid them. Okay, and then we'll end with some practical code examples. So when we say semantics or syntax, what are they? So basically when we say syntax, it's basically what refers to the set of rules that defines the combination of symbols that are considered to be correctly structured programs in a language. So when we say in a language, Python is a programming language. So when you are trying to understand the syntax of Python programming language, we are saying that it's a structured rules, okay? A set of rules that you define them, okay, in a combination of different things, right? It could be symbols and all that. So the whole point is they are structured rules or set of rules that you have to follow. So for Python programming language, there are set of rules that you have to follow, and those rules are the syntax. Okay, so how the code and everything is being structured, you have to follow Python programming language rules. And in the process of you following those rules, then it means you understand the syntax of what? Python. Hope that is clear. So if you follow the rules of Python programming by understanding how the syntax is being structured and all that, then based on that, you are following the syntax of what? Python. Remember I told you for every programming language, it has its own syntax. So if we are looking at Python, it should tell you that Python also has its own syntax. Okay, that they are a set of rules that you have to follow. Right? And when we look at semantics, semantics basically refers to the interpretation of the symbols. Those are what the rules that you set that are symbols and all that. You interpret it, being it in the form of what? Semantics. Okay? So semantics refers to the meaning of or the interpretation of what? The symbols, the characters, the commands in that particular Python language we'll be using. So this is just some overview that I want you guys to understand, that for every programming language, you need to understand their set of rules and their set of interpretations you need to be aware of. Okay, and the same thing applies to our Python now. Python understands some certain structured rules and also some kind of semantics that you need to follow whenever you are writing codes in Python. All right, please let's share, let's share and like for others to also join us. All right, now let's look at some basic syntax in Python. Okay, so let's say for instance we want to understand some basic syntax. So when we say syntax, now we understand that syntax is basically some set of what? Rules that we have to follow, and those rules are structured. Okay, so if those rules are structured and we have to follow, then it means that one, Python is case sensitive. So what we are saying here is that this is one of the rules you have to follow. Okay, and it's one of the structure. If you dodge, your code won't work. And the first thing is we are saying that Python is case sensitive, which means that if I say name, okay, this is a variable name. Don't worry, we will get to variables. Okay, if I say name is assigned to Dennis, okay, if I say name is assigned to Dennis, it should tell you that this is a variable name holding Dennis. Okay, this is a string. Okay, and this is the variable name. Sorry. So this is a string Dennis, and this is a variable name. Okay, so this name you could see is in small letters. Now if this name is in small letters, we want to better understand that, okay, Python is case sensitive. So if you are saying Python is case sensitive, if I run this, you could see the second one also is capitalized each word. So I have capitalized the word, the letter N. You could see I've capitalized the letter N, which tells you that this string Darko is being stored in this variable name at the same time. But you could see there are two different things. We have small letters for name, one variable, and we have capitalized the first letter N, which is for the same variable name. Now these two, what you need to understand here is that these two are different. Okay, these two are different, they are not the same. So if I say print name, don't worry about the print function. You will get to understand all of them. This is just the basis for us to understand the syntax. So now if I run by clicking here, okay, if I click on run like this, right, it will print Dennis and also print Darko. The reason is because this is different from this. Okay, but let's say if we maintain the same thing and say name. So let's print again. Now, because we are printing name like this, let's remove one of the prints, okay? And then just do it like this, and then let's run. So do you see what printed out? It didn't print this. So Python is checking. It checks, it runs, and then no, it runs the last code for us, which means that it's trying to pick one. It doesn't understand which one to choose, and based on its own semantics and syntax, this is the one he chooses. So it tells you that Python is case sensitive. So if you are doing anything, you need to be careful. So if we run back to N and then we run it like this, we should get the same. Yeah. So If you run it like this and then we save, okay, then we save, we should get different. Let me save this one so we can test this so big. Okay, all right. So make sure that anytime you are naming any variable in Python, it is well aligned in terms of case sensitivity. All right. Okay. Now let's move on to the next one. We call something indentation. Indentation simply means that what? How you structure and how you align your code. So how the code is being structured and how it's aligned, you need to indent it in a way that Python understands. Okay? And indentation is Python is used to define the structure and hierarchy of the code. Unlike many other programming languages like Java, blah blah blah, uses braces to delimit blocks of code, Python uses indentation to determine the grouping. So how you align the code, Python determines that. So let's say, for instance, if we say age is assigned to 32, and then we are saying that if age is greater than 30, so you see, this is a conditional statement. If age is greater than 30, then print age, then print age again. So this is a function we have set here. We have this function here, and we are saying that this is a conditional statement, and we assign age to be 32, and we are saying that if age is greater than 30, then print age. Okay, sorry. Then print age. So if age is greater than 30, then print age, which means that the code will first check this. Age is 32. If age is 32, then is it greater than 30? Yes. Is age greater than 30? Yes. Then if it's yes, it prints age. So when we run like this, you see it prints age and again age. So this is the indentation we are talking about. You could see it's duplicating the calculation for us or the result for us because we indented it poorly. Okay, you see this is in red. So sometimes you need to understand where you are putting your print and order. So let's say, for instance, if I remove this like this. So most of the time when you are writing the code, okay, you see it's if age is assigned to or is greater than 30, print age. The moment you press enter like this, it aligns it for you by indenting it well. So most of the time, don't bring your cursor here, okay? Don't bring your cursor here. Most of the time, just align based on how you are coding. Be pressing on the enter keyboard, and then you will be well aligned in terms of indentation in Python. Don't worry about the conditional statements. It's just you will understand everything when we move further. So all that I want you guys to understand is when you are indenting in Python, make sure that wherever the cursor is, you press enter. That's the most of the time the effective way. For instance, let's say I was about typing here. Okay, so let's say we are doing this. We first assign our variable. You see, we first assign our variable. Age is assigned to 32, and we say that if age is greater than, let's say, 35. Okay, if age is greater than 35, you see the moment I bring the colon and I press enter like this, it takes me to the right indentation line for me to begin my code. You get the logic? So make sure in Python, so I can just say print, and then because I have the print function inbuilt, then I can say print what? Age. Okay, so once I run this like this, we will not get anything because I need to return the condition. So I just come here like this again, then I like this, then I'll say print age. Okay, then I run again, then I get a 32. So you see now we've aligned it well, so we are getting the 32. So if age is assigned to 32, if age is greater than 30, then print age. Here we didn't We didn't do any calculations, so deep calculations. Okay. All right. Please, if you want to join, you can request and then I'll bring you up and then you can also ask any question. All right. Now let's look at single line comment. So in Python, okay, in Python, if you want to comment with single lines, you just bring something like this, the pound sign, and then you add a comment. Okay. So it's more like hash hash, then this is a single line. That's it. Right? And then you can print that single line so you can say hello. So this is how sometimes, so if you want to comment, let's say like this, okay, then you can comment. Or sometimes if you want to, you can use this, then you say this is a new code. You see? So it accepts both double pound or double or single hash. Just the thing is you need to understand that you can have a single comment. Okay? So the same thing. Now we also have line continuation. So let's say for instance you have this particular code. Total is assigned to 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus you continue. So sometimes you don't want it to go in that straight line for it to be so long. So if you want to cut it and then move to the next line, you just use this backslash. Okay, so you just use a backslash to continue a statement to the next line. And that is how we do it in Python. Okay, so if I want to go like this, plus 10 plus 5 plus 3, and I want to end, I will just use the backslash like this. Now move to the next line like this. Okay, and it will compute all of them for you. To compute everything. Okay, it will compute everything for you. All right, and when you run, you should get the total, which is 61. And this is how we print results. So you see, this is the variable name, total, and if I want to get the result of this, I'm just printing the variable name, which is the total, because this variable is holding this particular data. You get the concept? Yeah. Please, if you want to ask any question, you can type or you can come up and then you ask the question whilst we move along. Now let's look at multiple statements in Python. So in Python, we have what we call multiple statements. Okay. So multiple statements is more like the same like this. Okay. So x is this, y is this, x is equal to x plus y, print z. So I'm just printing this. So I can have x is assigned to 5, okay, sorry, y is assigned to 10, okay. So you see I'm doing some multiple statement and I'm still saying that colon z is assigned to x plus y. But this thing I could have done it like this and then remove the colon like this and it will still work. But we are saying that in terms of if you want to use multiple statements, which you can just do something like this and it will still work fine for you. Okay, so it's more like x is assigned to 5, y is assigned to 10, z is assigned to x plus y. So we want the result of this and this to be stored in z. So these are individual variable names that are holding this particular data. Okay, but we don't know this data yet. That is why we have assigned it as what, x and y, and then because we know x, we know y, but we don't know z. Okay, so for us to know z, we are saying that we are using the operator sign, we add the x and then the y, and then we will be able to get z, which will definitely be 15 once we run like this. If you also want to run, you can use shift enter, then you get the same thing. Okay, you can click on this or you can use shift enter on the keyboard. So now multiple statements on a single line, this is how we do it. But if you don't want multiple statements, as I said earlier, you just remove the colon, then you press enter like this, and then you can still get the same result. Hope that is clear. All right, so this is how multiple statements you can handle them, because sometimes when you are writing some specific codes, you need to make sure that like you can either make it on a one statement on a one line, or you feel you want it to be more presentable, you can just put it in a separate line each session. All right. Now, let's look at the next one, which is understanding semantics in Python. Now you could see how the syntax of Python you've been able to understand in terms of the case sensitive aspect, in terms of indentation, in terms of single line comment. So single line comment is something like this. In terms of line continuation, which you use the backslash. And then also in terms of multiple statements on a single line, which should be like this. So then use the colon, which will still get the 15. Okay. All right. Now we want to understand semantics in Python, which we said here, the symbols and all that. Now, let's look at variable assignments. Okay. Let's use variable assignments as an example for the semantics so that we can understand the semantics aspect. Okay. All right. Now, variables in variable assignment. So let's say this is our variable age. Okay. And this is our data. So this variable is holding this data, which is 32. It's a figure, right? Now, age is an integer, isn't it? Yes. So if age is an integer, we are saying that name is assigned to Dennis. So now name is also a string. So now take note. Age, this figure is an integer. But once I do something like dot 4, it's no more an integer. Okay, it becomes what? A float. We'll look at it later, don't worry. Okay. Now this is the another string. Remember earlier when I was saying this is string, this is that. Now, this is another string. So name is assigned to Dennis. Now we are saying that this name is a variable holding a string. So that is why I'm saying that name is a string. So automatically this variable is a string. This variable is an integer. Okay, so those are the kind of semantics in terms of how these things are being set. Okay, so we are saying that this is an integer, this is what? A string. And if you assign it to a variable, then automatically they need to be what? Holding those strings and also those integers. And those are the variables we assign. Okay, all right. Now let's try to print the type of the age. Now type of age is basically, you see, we are saying that age is 32. Now we want to understand the semantics of Python in terms of, we are saying that, okay, hey, we know that age is an integer. Automatically we know that 32 is an integer. But let's see if it's true. Okay, so if you want to check if something is true, for instance this, we want to understand if 32 is really integer in Python, then we will say type of this particular variable. Okay, what is the type of this particular variable? Then once we run, we should get it as what? Int, which is integer. The same thing applies to the variable name, which we should get string. So it tells you that when we move forward, you could understand that we'll be using int a lot, and we could be using string in this form, str and then integer, int. Okay, so these are some of the semantics in Python that you need to understand in terms of these things. All right. Now let's look at type inference. Okay, so let's say variable is assigned to 10. Now we want to print the type of the variable. Okay, and now variable is assigned to Dennis. Then we print the type of the variable again. Now all that we want to understand is, when we say inference, it's more like what type is it, what class does it belong to. So we want to understand the class it belongs to, and you could see that automatically the class this belongs to is integer, and then the class it belongs to is what? String. This is common, this is normal stuff, right? Okay. The same thing, if we say age is assigned to 32, if age is greater than 30, print age, then we should get 32. All right. Here we didn't do any calculation. All right. We will do those things. Don't worry. Now let's look at some name error. Okay. There are some name errors you need to understand. When we say A is assigned to B, what is it? Like once you print, you should get error. Okay, because what is B? We don't know B. So these are, you need to define B. You cannot just say C is assigned to D. No, you need to define them. So if you are saying A is assigned to B, maybe B is this. So let's say if you say you need to define something, it's all about something like this. So B equals to, let's say, 5 or 4. Okay, so we are saying B is equal to 4, then A is equal to B. So let's run this. So you see we are not wrong, right? But you cannot just say A is assigned to B. You'll get name error because I have to save it. That's why. Okay, so you need to be careful, else you get name error. So it's either, most of the time you say B is assigned to, let's say, 6, and then once you run, then we can say print A. So when we say, so here we are saying that B is assigned to 6, A is equal to B, then print A. So you know we should get 6, right? Automatically we should get 6. Okay, so these are some of the little dynamics that sometimes you need to be aware of when you are working on a high profile project. Sometimes you'll be getting name errors a lot. So you need to be aware of these little things when it comes to semantics in Python. Okay, all right. Now let's look at code examples of indentation. Okay, so we are saying that, and already we know indentation, which I showed you earlier. So we are saying that if true, print correct indentation, else, or if false, print this, not what, print, or print this will print, or print outside the if block. So we are trying to make some checks and see, okay, how do we indent? Okay, so this code is still checking how we have indented this particular code block. So if I run something like this, we are saying that if true, what is true? Print the indentation. If true, print correct indentation. If false, print this, not print, or unprint, and all that. Okay, so I can do something like this. Okay, and I'll get error. You see, I'll get error. Okay, expected an indented block after if statement on line 4. Which is line 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is line 4, and we are saying that we are indentation error. We are expected an indented block after if statement on line 4. Okay, so we just need to go back like this. Okay, and when we run, we should get. So this is what I'm saying, that sometimes when you are writing the codes, you need to be aware of how the indentation is going and how you align it. That is why we use this as an example. This one. See this one? If I do something like this, I should get error. I won't get this 32 because there is an indentation not aligning. You see? Indentation error. Expected an indented block after if statement on line 5, which is line 5. You just check 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it starts from here because of all these things. So it will check and come here and say this is line 5. Okay, so you are seeing, you see, so indentation error, blah blah blah, value object string is empty, blah blah. So you need to make sure, and the trick I always tell you is just use the backspace like this, press enter, and your indentation should be fixed for you. Okay, and once we run again, we should get our 32. Okay, we are just trying to understand the various dynamics. We are not doing any computation, high profile computations. Okay, so don't be worried about anything. We are just trying to understand how the flow, the syntax, the semantics of Python is. Okay, all right. Now let's look at some conclusions. Understanding the syntax and semantics of Python is crucial for writing correct and meaningful programs. Syntax ensures the code is properly structured, while semantics ensures the code behaves as expected. So you see the difference. When we go to the indentation, those are the semantics, the strings, the type of the variable, and all that. You see, that semantics ensures that the code behaves as what expected. So that's why I told you you should be aware of name errors, you should be aware of indentations issues and all that when you start coding purely in Python, which very soon we'll be looking at that. Okay, so be aware of these things, guys. Now, mastering these concepts will help in writing efficient and error-free Python code. Okay, mastering these things will help you to what? Writing efficient and error-free Python code. Okay, so that is why we are taking our time to understand the syntax and semantics in Python. Okay, so you saw that we did a lot of tricks when it comes to understanding the semantics, which you need to understand what type is it, and also the kind of variable you are dealing with. If you are assigning a variable to a data, then you should know that particular type of that particular variable. So this will be integer. If I say 32.4, this will be float, so it will no more be what? To be float like this. Okay, and if I say print like this, now if I come here and I say type age, it will be float. You see, so it will no more be an integer. All right, now let's move on to the next one, which is so now we are done with Python basics. Now let's move on to how variables are. Okay, all right. Now, variables are fundamental. So first of all, most of the time when you open a notebook, okay, remember these are all notebooks. 1, 2, 3, 4, they are notebooks. Okay, when you open a notebook, make sure you select the kernel. That is, the kernel will help you to run all the script because it has those dependencies already built on. So if I want to select my kernel, already I created a virtual environment, the one I told you to do. So you just have to select that particular virtual environment you created, which is this one, because I already have it here. See, this is the virtual environment I created. Okay, so I just have to add this particular virtual environment to my working directory as a kernel. Then I can be running the scripts based on that particular kernel. All right. So now let's look at variables. Variables are fundamental elements in programming used to store data that can be referenced and manipulated in a program. In Python, variables are created when you assign a value to them. And we saw from the basics, we saw how variables like this and that. In Python, variables are created when you assign a value to them, and they do not need explicit declaration to reserve memory space. The declaration happens automatically when you assign a value to a variable. Okay, so now let's look at some kind of concepts. We are looking at introduction to variables, which I just did, declaring and assigning variables, naming conventions, understanding variable types, type checking and conversion, dynamic typing, and then we do some little practicals here. Okay, now let's look at the first one. A is assigned to 100. Okay, we are saying that A is assigned to 100, which means that this A is holding this particular data 100. So if we run like this, we should be able to get it correct. And if I want to print the result, I will say print A. Okay, so if I say print A and I do like this, I'll get 100. So we are saying that this A is a variable name. That is the whole point. Okay, this A is a variable name. All right. Okay, so we are saying that this is a variable name. I don't know if it's clear. Let me zoom it a bit again. Can we see it well? Yeah, I think it's clear now. Okay. Now, let's move on to the next one. Declaring and assigning variables. So now you see how we declare and assign variables. A is assigned to 100 and then just print. But now let's go how we declare and assign variables. So we are saying that A is assigned to 32. Height is equal to 6.1. So when we say variables, it's just you trying to give a particular name that depending on what you are doing, you will be able to assign certain data to it. Okay, so when we go more deeper, you see how when we have a data set, those variables, we use them and we work with it. Okay, all right. So declaring and assigning variables, we are saying that, okay, let's first declare our first variable, which is assigning age is assigned to what, 32. Height is equal to what, or assigned to 6.1. Okay. Name is equal to Dennis. Is underscore student. This is also a variable name. Remember, variables cannot be spaced. You cannot do something like this. You cannot do something like this. Okay, it's space student. No, it has to be one word. And remember, Python is what? Case sensitive. All right. So we are saying that age is 32, height is 6.1, name is Dennis, is underscore student is assigned to what? True. This is a boolean value. We could say false like this. Okay. These are already keywords or pre-built variables already in Python. So you don't use them. So you cannot say false is equal to this. No. You cannot say this is a variable name. So take note of that. So we are saying that is a student equals to true. Now we are saying that age is this, height is this, name is this. Is an underscore student is also a variable name. True. Okay, so Odis, why is it not only student? Why is it not only student? Oh, okay. So it's not only student because I can decide to make it just student. It's also fine. But because of the teaching purpose, I want people to also understand that you can use underscore and separate something how you want to define your or declare your variable name. Okay? So that is why we are not making it just a student. We are making it is underscore student because I want you guys to understand that yes, variable names can also have underscores, but the whole thing is variable names cannot have spaces. Okay? I hope it's clear. All right. If it's clear, you can just say yes for me. Thank you. So we are saying that is underscore student equals to what? True. Okay? So we can just say student like this, which is also correct. But because for teaching purpose, that is why I'm using underscore. So you guys understand that you can still use underscore to declare and assign your variables. Now let's try to print something. Okay? We are going to print the age, we are going to print the height, and we are going to print the name. Okay? Alright. Now, when we run this, we are saying that print age this, print height this, print name this, which is normal. It will print this, this, and this. Okay? So when we run like this, we are going to get age is what? 32, height is 6.1, and name is Dennis. Remember, this is an integer, this is a float, and this is what? A string. Okay? The type of these things. And if you want to know the type, all you need to do is to just come here and then just type of what? The variable name, which is age. Okay? Type of the variable name, which is height. Okay, did we make it small or capital? Okay, small letters, so I need to make this small. And then you can say type of the variable. What's the next one? Name. Okay, the type of the variable name. So you see, we want to understand which is this integer, is this float, is this string? Okay, in Python. So you see, it first prints the first one for us. Okay, so because I didn't use print, it will just tell me the first one. It will pick the last one. So if I also want to understand, sorry, let me just close this one. If I also want to know the integer, it will be integer. If I want to know the name, okay, it will be what? String. You get the concept. If I want to know the height, it will be what? Float. So this is how it is. So we are just trying to understand how we declare and assign variables. Okay? Alright. Now, let's look at naming conventions. Okay? Let's look at naming conventions. Let's look at naming conventions. Now, variable names should be descriptive. Okay? They must start with a letter or an underscore. That is what I showed previously. And contains letter, numbers, and underscores. Variable names, case sensitive. Okay, variable names are what? Case sensitive. Okay, so variable names are what? Case sensitive. As I said earlier on, we need to be aware of these things. These are the little tricks. If you are not aware as a beginner, you would make a lot of mistakes. Okay, know that you could see how I did this thing here. This is small, everything is small letters, so you don't have any issue. Okay, so variable names are case sensitive, and variable names should either be underscore and contain letters or numbers. Okay, it shouldn't have that kind of symbols and all that. No. All right. So let's do something here. First underscore name. So I'm saying that first underscore name is Dennis, last underscore name is Darko. Okay, because this is a variable name holding Dennis. This is another variable name. So I could go further and say gender. Okay, gender is assigned to what? Let's say male. Sorry, male. Okay, but because now you see it's marking function. You see the reason why it's marking is giving me some kind of error signs because this is a string. Okay, so I need to put it in what? Double quotes. Then I'll say male. Okay, so this will be correct. I can move further and say, let's say um, country of residence, or I can say current resident. Okay, I can say current underscore resident. Okay, and still it will be a string, so I will say, let's say Canada. You see, so this is how we do the variable names. You can also go further and say country. Okay, and then you assign it to, let's say, Ghana. Okay, country. So you could say country underscore origin. Okay, so like you just don't need to have a space like country origin like this. No, you get error. Okay, you get error. Yeah. What time do you start your class? Please, on weekends, every weekday 7 p.m. Eastern time. But today there was a little delay, which going forward tomorrow there will not be any delay. So it's on weekdays 7 p.m. Eastern Toronto time. We start. On weekends 10 a.m. Eastern Toronto time. We start. This is an AI bootcamp, and we are picking everything right from the basics, which is the Python. You dive deep into everything till we get to the machine learning and all that. Okay, all right. So if you just join me, this is an AI bootcamp specifically for mastering Python, mastering machine learning, mastering deep learning, mastering NLP, and all that. We have our Discord channel, which one of you guys should help me and post it in the comment section, which any other new person, or the Discord channel is in my bio. Okay, you can look at my bio, it's there. All right, now so these are some of the little tricks you guys should be aware of. As a beginner, you should be aware of these kind of tricks. Okay, all right. Now I don't want any error in my code, so I just close this one. So you can see that we have first name Dennis, last name Darko, gender male, current resident, that's where I live currently, which is Canada. Okay, all right. Are the videos going to be uploaded on YouTube? Yes. So this is recorded, and once I'm done with the recording, I'll just pick this and then upload on YouTube. I don't do any editing. So I don't do any editing. It's just what happens here. We pick it, we paste it on YouTube. Okay. So at any point in time, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is the same Darko Labs. I have the link in my bio. Once you click on it, it will take you to YouTube, and then you can consume the video as well there. Please remember if someone can post the Discord link in the comment section for anyone to also join, or the Discord link is also in my bio. Thank you guys. All right, if you also want to request, you can request and come up and ask questions and be more interactive with us. we go along, we move along. All right. Now let's look at invalid variable names. I think I've done all those things. So what I was saying is, to age is assigned to 30. We don't set a variable name to be this. Remember, we set the rules here. They must start with a letter or underscore and contains letter, comma, numbers, and underscores. So if you say invalid variable names like to age, no. First hyphen name, no. At name, no. So let's check if these things works. Okay. All right. So if I run something like this, okay. If I run something like this, you see already I'm getting error. You see already I'm getting error. So automatically if I run, I'll get error. You understand? So we don't set variable names to be something like that. Don't bring hyphen and all that. No. It should be something like this, or instead of this hyphen, you do underscore. Okay? And instead of this at, you remove it. You don't need it. So it should be something like this. Alright. So now let's go back like this. Okay. Alright. So now let's look at the case sensitive. I think I've talked about the case sensitive, which you need to make sure that it's all small letters so you don't have any issues with case sensitivity. Okay. Alright. Now let's look at understanding variable type. So Python is dynamically typed. Type of a variable is determined at runtime, which I've also done this for you guys, so you could understand the type of this, which will be integer, float, string, and then boolean, which is true or false. Okay, so I think I've also explained this further. Which, don't worry, this notebook will be also available on a GitHub or on the Discord channel, which I'll post it there for you guys to also go through. Okay, all right. Now let's look at, I don't usually want to post what we will learn on the Discord because maybe you might not follow us. So once I'm done, then I'll post the materials there for you guys to also go along or follow along if you want to practice more. Okay. All right. So type checking and conversion, which we did this already. So basically the type of the height will be float, right? The same thing applies to this one, which is also the same, right? The same thing applies to this one. And then the same thing. So this one here, we are saying name is equal to Dennis. You see, I'm using integer here. If I say int name, this is not an integer, so I'll get value error. What is the value? The value is this Dennis. Okay, that is the data. So this data, if I'm assigning to this particular variable, then name, and I'm saying that int name, when I run, I should get error, which is called value error. Value error. Okay, so take note of these kind of data types or types. Okay, so the same thing applies to this, and then some dynamic typing. Let's look at some dynamic typing. Let's say, for instance, Python allows the type of a variable to change as the program executes. Okay, so let's say, for instance, we assign a variable to be 10, which is integer, which we know now, isn't it? Okay. Now we are saying that print var the type of this particular variable, which is the 10. Now the variable we've also assigned that this same var we've assigned to hello, which is a string. Okay, and we are also saying at the same time print this type of variable for us. And this same variable we've assigned to a floating number. And we are saying at the same time print this type. So let's see the result. So you see 10 is integer, hello is string, this is float. You see? So we are saying that you can also do this, but make sure if you assign this particular variable, you are assigning it based on the definition of your project or your program. You understand? So you don't make any confusion. You don't make the program to be confused. If the program is confused, it will only break and it will give you error. Alright. So make sure the type of variable you are assigning and you want the program to execute is properly assigned. Okay? Alright. Alright, I think someone has posted a Discord link in the comment section, which if you are interested, you can join on the Discord link. We have so many things we do on the Discord link. Okay? We will be doing on the Discord link as well. So you can join us on the Discord. I will show you the Discord very soon once I'm done teaching today. So now the next one is input. Now let's look at some input. This is very critical, guys. This is very critical. Please, if you have any question, you can ask before I move to the input, because here, this is where we try to accept some inputs. Once we type the inputs, then we get some feedback or the result. You understand? So we want to understand, okay, if I say age is assigned to integer and the input is the age, print age and the type of the integer or the type of that particular variable. Okay? So now you could see that I'm saying that age is equal to int input of what? Something I want to input. So I will input something, which is what is the age. Okay? So let's do something like this. Let me cut this off. Okay? Then let's run this. Okay? So you see, it will be waiting for me to enter something. You see? It's telling me what is the age. Press enter to confirm or escape to cancel. So now it's accepting a specific what? Age. So I will say 30. Then I'll press what? Enter. Okay, it has accepted the 30. Now let's go to the next line and then let's print the age. Okay, do you see? I entered 30, isn't it? Now I have printed the age and I still want to check the type of that particular variable. So I could do something like this. Okay, I could do something like this and I'll still get my 30. But I wanted to understand what type of that particular age is. So when we run this, we first accept an input. So you see how we accept inputs in Python. You see how we accept inputs in Python? Age is assigned to int input. So it means that if I run this code and I type here Dennis, remember I'm going to get error. So let's test and see if we will get error. So I press enter. You see? What error did I get? Value error, because that particular field only accepts what? Integer values. But I entered what? Dennis, which is a string value. So you see the tricks here. I want you guys to understand that when you are coding, make sure you set certain specific rules and make sure these rules are well structured and well aligned with the program or the project you want to execute, so that anyone who picks your project or your application understands and won't make any little confusion. So now let's go back and do the same again. We run, accept input, we say my age is 50, we press enter. Now we've stored this particular 50. Now let's look at the trick here. The reason why I separated the code. Now we've stored a particular value called what? 50. That value is called 50, and that value is an integer stored in memory for us. And we storing it in memory, we store it with a variable name called what? Age. And that age is what is holding that value I entered 50. Now for me to see that value, I just have to print it. That is why previously when programming language started, there was nothing like database. You get the concept here? There was nothing like database. So most of the time, everything goes into memory and then we bring it back. But now, because of database, we query from database, referencing using data extraction techniques, and then we query from the data set or the database. And at the same thing, we will use the various variables within the database to reference as our variable names. You know, in a database or in a data set, we have rows and columns. So the rows and columns have what? Data in it. So every column has a column name. So those column names are what we call what? The variables. You guys are getting the concept now. The column names in that particular data set or the database are called the variables. But in a database, we typically sometimes call it what? Attributes. So it depends on how you understand it and how you interpret it. Okay. So But because we are dealing with basics, so you see how now I have stored something in memory. I just have to print it, and I can come here and then print it, because in printing, because we don't have database now connected, in printing it's more like we are trying to query the result. I just want to cast you guys mind back to how things will be done. So in printing, we are querying the result from the database. So let's see, this time around it's in memory. So we just run this and we get 50. You see? You see? All right, Dr. Bill said, what is the difference between versus code and Jupyter, VS Code and Jupyter Lab or Jupyter Node? Okay, so VS Code is an IDE, okay, integrated development environment. And then the Jupyter Lab is more like a notebook that you can create inside any IDE you have. You just have to install the dependencies and the packages. That is why when you saw I created a virtual environment, this virtual environment has all the dependencies. When you check my requirements, you could see I have IPyKernel. Okay, so this is what will help me. This is what is helping me to create this particular notebook here, .ipymb, and based on that, I have a virtual environment that I've selected, and based on that, I'll be able to run all my codes in one particular notebook. Okay, so VS Code is an IDE that will accept this particular notebook that we've created. You can also use an IDE like Notepad++ or any IDE you think you are comfortable with. But looking at someone who has been in the industry, I would advise you to use VS Code, because VS Code has a lot of integrations and extensions that as we move forward, you will see all these extensions will be installing. Okay, all right. So I'll encourage you to. Yeah, Google Colab is perfect. Yeah, Honorable Dixon. Yes, Google Colab is perfect. You can use Google Colab to also create notebooks and do all these things that I'm doing here, right? But Google Colab, because you'll be doing it online and all that, sometimes they have limitation in terms of when, for instance, when we start doing more of machine learning here during one of the sessions that we'll be having, we'll do more of machine learning. You will see that Google Colab will be giving you a lot of quota limits. We don't want that situation. We want to run everything right from our computer. Okay? We don't want to have any issue with quota limit and all that. And we don't want to be selecting any server, blah, 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 or any kernel. Okay? So just feel free, download VS Code, which is free, and IDE free. I have 2 videos on my YouTube. When you go there, you'll be able to understand Anaconda installation and also how you can create the virtual environment, this one. Okay? All right. So let's move on. Where was I? Okay. All right. So let's look at some simple. So now we understand the input, right? So age is assigned to int. So I could have just removed this and my program will not be strong. If I remove integer, if I remove integer here, if I remove int like this, okay, it will still run, but it will accept it. But it will accept anything, any value someone enters, which it won't be a proper code, you understand, or a proper program, you understand. So that's why we are trying to set it as what? Integer, so that if someone enters a different thing, a different value, we will get error. And in the process of when we move higher, we will see that sometimes we don't show the error, but we show error message, which will be, let's say, enter the value, or we could say the value has to be what? A string. Good, or integer. Okay, all right. So let's look at some simple calculations. Okay, let's do some simple calculator that accepts some inputs, enter number 1, enter number 2, and then based on that we compute and then we get the result. Okay, all right. Now, because this simple calculation will help you to understand case sensitivity, semantics in Python, syntax in Python, variables in Python, and all that. Okay, all right. And comment. So you see how we comment. You can just comment with just one like this, which is also still fine. Okay, yeah. So you can make it 3 or blah blah blah. Okay, all right. Now you see, I said num1 is assigned to. I want a floating number, which means you have to enter 2.2, 3.2.4, 2.44, or you don't have to enter 2. If you enter 2, we get value error. Okay, we will test all of them here. Now I'm saying that another variable I'm assigning is num2 float, and at the same time I'm setting the second number. Now I'm saying that I have another variable called sum. Okay, I'm saying that sum num1 num2. This is an operator sign we are using in Python, plus. So I'm saying that add first number, the first number the person will enter, plus the second number the person will enter. And then based on this, store the total in this particular variable for me. Once you store the total, I also want the difference. The first number minus the second number. I also want the product. I also want the quotient, which is the division. Okay, so all that I need to do here is I just have to run this like this. So you see, it says enter first number. Okay, I hope you guys can see well, right? Okay. Okay, so someone is saying that why do we need a virtual environment? Okay, Aisha, we need a virtual environment because I don't want to be repeating myself installing most of the dependencies that we will be needing. So I have to, for instance, sometimes when we are working and we want to run a particular script or code, we need to, for instance, if I need numpy, okay, if I want to do some calculations or if I want to do some manipulations, let's say visualization, seaborn, matplotlib, like numpy, pandas, and all that. These are individual dependencies that already are in Python. We need to install them, okay? But for me to install them, I don't need to be, each time I want to run the code, then I'll install. No, you create a Conda virtual environment, okay, which you have assigned it already, activated it already, and based on your activation, you will be able to what? Be running any code you have once that particular code has that particular dependencies. Okay, so in a nutshell, we do that because we don't want to be repeating ourselves installing a lot of dependencies. In a nutshell, put them in one particular place, connect it as a kernel here. Okay, that's why you are seeing this kernel here. Okay, connect as a kernel here, and then always run your code, and you'll be able to run your code without you necessarily using pip install blah blah blah, pip install blah blah blah. No. Okay, or conduct blah blah blah. No. All right. So it's the best practice. That is why I want you guys, as a beginner, you need to understand it. It's the best practice. Always create Conda environment, which is a virtual environment, and based on that, you can be running your codes on. Okay, and at any point in time you want to include any dependency, all you need is to just go there and add it to this one. So anytime I can just come here and I'll add another one. Let's say numpy. Okay, and I'll rerun my virtual environment and it will be activated to it. Okay, so I don't need to be installing anytime I want to be installing. No. All right. Okay, and save. Okay, so now we are running. You could see we are running this code. Okay, we are saying that we want to do some simple calculation. So it says enter first number. So first number, remember we are looking for floating numbers. Okay, floating numbers. See, we use float. So we are looking for floating numbers. So I could say 3.20. Then I press enter. Enter second number. Then I'll say 40.9. So let's see if we get a result. So you see the results. Sum was what? 44.1. The difference was negative 37.69. The product was 130.88. And then the quotient was 0.07. You see? You see how interesting it is? You see how interesting it is? Okay, Aisha said, I actually joined late. Will I be able to the steps on how to create a... Yes, Aisha, the steps on how to create a virtual environment is on my YouTube. So once you check on my bio here, just click on my name, my picture there. Go to my bio. The YouTube link is there, Darko Labs. When you go there, I have 2 videos. First one is Anaconda installation. The second one is creating virtual environments using VS Code. You go through that video and you will be good. Okay. Once you're done with this video, join the Discord channel. That is what Antoinette has posted in the comment section. Thank you very much, Antoinette. Go to the comment section, pick the Discord link, or in my bio, the Discord link is there. Pick it, go and join our Discord, and then from there, you'll get all the materials that I'm posting here. At the same time, once I'm done, this recording will be posted on YouTube, and also the materials will be also attached there. Okay? Alright, but if you join the Discord, I think it will help you better because we will have more. There are a lot of things there which once I'm done with today's session, you guys will see. I'll just display some of them for you to see. A lot of things that we will do at the Discord session. Alright, so guys, you see how it is? You see how the variables are, how powerful we've used variables and how powerful everything has been structured for. This is how the basics of programming language works. If you're able to understand these basics, you will be good moving forward. That is why I am not rushing. I am not trying to rush into teaching you machine learning. I want you to understand Python, master Python, before we move to machine learning itself, because this is a bootcamp, and in bootcamp you learn everything right from the basics. Okay, I'm devoting my time to teach you guys everything. Okay, all right. So always join my session. Every weekday 7 p.m. Eastern Toronto time. Every weekend 10 a.m. Eastern Toronto time. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for liking and all that. So let's move on. So this is how variables and everything is done. So in conclusion, variables are essential in Python programming for storing and manipulating data. So you see, when we move on and then we connect database and all that, we create database and all that, you will see how we can still store and manipulate the data. And that same concept is what we are learning now from the basics. And remember, I showed you how the variables hold and store the data, the values and all that. That's the same how database. So now instead of them storing them in memory, they've created some kind of big space which we call the database, and then you store the data in it. You understand? All right. So that is basically how everything is. So we are saying that understanding how to declare, assign, and use variables effectively is crucial for writing functional and efficient code. Following proper naming conventions, understanding variable types will help in maintaining readability and consistency in your code. Remember, I told you Python is case sensitive. Variables, no spaces. Anything, make it well structured. You could see how this code is structured. See, this simple calculator we just worked on. We have the num1, num2, sum is equal to num1 plus num2, differences. You see, and I'm saying that if you want to say, okay, number one, if for instance you didn't want to use the word number, you could say number, okay, underscore 1. Okay, you could also come here and say number underscore 2, but don't use spaces. You understand? Don't use spaces. So that's how it works. Okay, that is how it works. Thank you so much. Now let's look at the last one, sorry, data types. Remember, we started with basics, variables, now we are data types. And now for data types, you guys will be okay because we understand the basics and variables now. So let's look at data types. So data types are classifications of data which tell the compiler or interpreter how the program intends to use the data. They determine the type of operations that can be performed on the data, the values that the data can take, and the amount of memory needed to store the data. Remember, I told you I'm not doing more theory, but sometimes I want you to understand the little definitions, then we move into the code, then we understand it. Okay? All right. So let's look at some importance of data types in programming. Data types ensure that data is stored in an efficient way. They help in performing correct operations on data. Proper use of data types can prevent errors and bugs in the program. Okay, so now let's go through some of the data types. Okay, all right. Remember, we dealt with integer. You know now we dealt with floating point, which is one of the data types. So we have int, float, string. They are all data types. Okay, all right. And then we dealt with string, which is a data type. Okay, boolean, which we've dealt with, which is a data type, which is true or false. Okay, now let's look at the common errors which we know. So for instance, if you say result is equal to this, you get error, which we know we handled that. Okay, now let me move on to this last one, which is operators, which we've also done some little operators, so you will understand the operators, right? Okay, so in Python, these are the operators. We have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, floor division, modulus, and exponentiation. Okay, and then we have some comparison operators: equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. You know the symbols, we will see the symbols. Logical operators: and, or, not. Then let's look at some examples. Okay, so let's look at some arithmetic operations. A is assigned to 10, B is assigned to 5. Now add underscore result. Now you know variables, so I don't have to explain these things. So we are saying that A plus B, this is an operator, this is the operator sign, the arithmetic operator, which is addition. Minus, this is the subtraction. This one is this operator sign is what? The multiplication. This one is what? The division. So take note of all these things. Okay, this one is the floor division. Okay, /2 / is what? Floor division. Now this one is the modulo, the one we will say 50% or all that. It's modulus operator or modulus operation or performing modulus. So you see how the modulus is A modulo B. Is when you want to use the modulo operator, you use this one on your keyboard. Now exponent result. So we are saying that we want to get the exponent of a particular value. So we could say A exponent B, which it could be, let's say if A is 5 and B is, let's say, 2, we say B exponent, 5 exponent 2. Okay, so for you to use the exponent, you just assign a variable. Let's say modulus result is equal to A exponent what? 2. So you see, you use that particular modulo operation, and when we come to exponent result, you will say A star star, which is times B. So A times B will give you the exponentiation in Python. So let's take note of all these things. Someone asked a question. Oh, okay. Download the Discord on your device. Okay. Thank you for helping. That's good. And when you go to the Discord, these things are all there. We help. We have all the tracks for helping and all that. That's good. All right. So now we could print all these things, the results, and we will get all these things. Okay. So the concept is understand the operators, the arithmetic operators. Okay. All right. Now let's move on. So you can see 5, and because we assigned A is 10, so let's run again. Okay, let me select my kernel. Yeah, I need to select my kernel. Okay, so I'm selecting my kernel, which we are using Python 3.12. So you see I'm activating it. Okay, so I've activated it, so it should run for me. You see, it has run successfully. So I'm having a, so the first one was addition, subtraction, multiplication, and all these are the results. So just take note of the operator signs, because those are the logics you'll be adding, the operations you'll be adding to your program. Okay, all right. Now let's move on to the next one. So it's the same thing, like these are all repetitions of these things. Like how, let's look at the comparison operators. So equal to, so this is A is assigned to 10, B is assigned to 10, A equals B. So this is equal to B. So you see, in Python, don't go and do something like this. don't go and do A equals B. No. The moment you do A equals B, you are assigning a variable. You are saying that A is assigned to B. But if you want to say A is equal to B, then use the two equal signs. Take note of this, guys. let's take note of this, okay? All right. And remember, if you go and do something and you don't define it, you're going to get value error. Okay. So now, equal sign, we usually do it like this, okay? All right. And then for string, if you say the same thing, if you want to assign string operators, you are saying that string 1 is equal to string 2. So Dennis is equal to Dennis. So it's the same thing. It will say true because Dennis is equal to string 1 is equal to string 2, which is Dennis is Dennis. Okay? All right. So let's say, assuming we change this to Darko. Let's see the result. You see it's false because string 1 value is not equal to string 2 value. But let's say we change it back to Dennis. Sorry. Let's say we change it back to Dennis. Okay, it should be equal to true. You see? So you see, Python is automatically picking based on this particular operator. It will tell us it's true or false. You see the logic here? All right. Now let's look at not equal to. Not equal to is we use this particular operator sign, the time, and then the equal to. So we say string 1 is not equal to string 2. So we just say we run and then we get this. So this is just if you want to make a logic of something not equal to, then you just say this sign. Sorry, how is A equal to B different from A equal to? Okay, so let me do it here for you to understand. All right, where is it? Good. So A equal to this is equal to, we are trying to say that this should be equal to B. So that one is true, right? Good. Now, if we say A equal to B, then this is not equal to that we are using. This in Python, when we say A equal to B, it means we are assigning a variable called A and we want this variable to hold this data B. But this data B is now 10, which we have defined up here. So if I clear this like this, okay, and I run, I will not get this true, but rather I will get 10. So let's see. So let me print so you get a result. Print A. Okay. The reason why we are printing A is because we are saying that A is 10, B is 10. A is assigned to 10. A is assigned to B. And what's the value of B? Is 10. So automatically once I print A, I should get 10. So let's see. So you see? So it tells you that the first one equal sign is variable assignment and declaring, okay? And then 2 equal sign like this is what? You are using the arithmetic operator sign. And here we call it a comparison operator, which is, sorry, not arithmetic, comparison operator, which is the equal to sign. Okay? So if I print A, let's see, I'll get 10. But I don't want to print the value because A, if this is equal to yes, I'll get 10. But I don't want to print it. I want to see if it's truly true, then Python will tell me it's true. Okay? Okay, so someone said again, please. Okay, so what I'm saying is, if you use the 2 equal sign, you are using a comparison operator. You are trying to compare one data or one variable to another variable. So in a nutshell, you are comparing one data to the other. You see? So here, we are saying that A equals B, in Python, this is a comparison operator. But when you say A equals B, okay, this is not a comparison operator. This is variable assignment and declaration. And automatically, if I run this, I am not going to get true. Okay, I'm not going to get anything. But if I clear this here, okay, and I say print A, okay, print A, I am going to get 10 because A is holding the value of B, which is 10. That is why we are getting 10 here. But I don't want to print, okay, and I said I just want to see if it's really true, then I will get true. Is it clear? All right. So that's how it works. So the key thing is when dealing with operator signs, okay, when dealing with operators, you use equal, equal, two equal to signs. When dealing with variable declarations, you use one equal sign. Okay? All right. Now, the same thing applies to the string, the equals, okay? And not equal to is this operator sign, okay? And then string not equal to the same, okay? Now, let's look at greater than. So you know the greater than operator, which is this one, this one. These are comparisons operators, okay? And comparison operators, you need to understand greater than, and we have less than, okay? So these are some of the things. So you see, number 1 is 45, number 2 is 55. Number 1 is greater than number 2. Is number 1 greater than number 2? No, right? Number 1 is not greater than number 2. So automatically, we will get false. You see, we are getting false. Now, let's do something. Let's use, let's print. Let's try to print. Let's try to print. Print, let's assign, let's say if number 1, okay, is greater than, okay, if number 1 is greater than num2, okay, if num1 is greater than num2, then let's print. Then we want to print num2, okay. We are just trying to print this, okay. We are not printing anything else. We are saying that num1 is 45, num2 is 55. If num1 is greater than num2, then print num2. Is num1 greater than num2? No. So it won't print. Okay. So we will just say else what? Print not now. So these are if else statements, but I don't want us to go there. Okay. Today we are not on if else statement. Okay. But let's run this and see something. So you see we are not getting anything. So I will say print, then I will say num1. Alright. Sorry, num2. Okay, so run. So you see, so here we are saying that I don't want to use if else conditional statement to worry your mind. You will get there. No rush. So the logic here I want you guys to understand, we are saying greater than. We are using greater than comparison operator. And using greater than comparison operator, we are saying that num1 is 45, num2 is 55. If num1 is greater than num2, then print num2. This is our logic, our condition. This is the condition we have set here, and we are based on the condition. If it's true, it prints this. And what are we returning? We just return it by printing it. So we are saying that this num1 is greater than num2. Is it true? Yes. If it's true, it prints it, and that's it. That's why we are getting 55. But it's not true, isn't it? Num1 is not greater than num2. So let's do something again. Okay. So now let's print this. So you see, it's false. But if I could have set the conditional statements properly using if else, I will get false. But I didn't want to bombard our mind. Okay. All right. So you see, num1 is 45, num2 is 55, num1 is greater than num2. Yes, it's not greater than num2. So we will get false. Now let's change the logic. This is 100. You should get true, right? So you see, we get true here. You see? All right. So how to use the comparison operator sign? You need to understand how you use it in handling any program you want to work with. And this is how the num1, num2, and example is being worked when it comes to greater than. Now let's look at the less than. Less than the same logic, we can print it, and then is it less than? So it's false. It's no more less than. But if we change back to 45 like this, and we run this, and we run this, we should get true because num1 is less than num2. Okay, and it's true, right? I hold on it, but it says comment. Oh, okay, you're asking someone a question. Okay, please feel free if you want to join. Very soon I'll be done, and then you can come up, request, and then ask your question. And if you're having any issue on your end, just let me know. And don't forget to join my Discord channel, and also the recordings will be posted on YouTube. You can watch it later on. And also all the materials will be added to it, so don't worry. But the understanding is what is critical for us, okay? All right, now let's look at less than, which I think I've done that. Greater than or equal to. Let's look at greater than or equal to. So you see how we use the greater than or equal to. Okay, see how we use the greater than or equal to. This is how we use the greater than. So you just use you first bring the greater than, then you bring the equal sign. Okay, so greater than or equal to is like this. So you see number 1 is 45, number 2 is 45. Print number 1 is greater than or equal to number 2, which is number 1 greater than or equal to number 2? Yes, because it's equal to the same 45, 45. Okay, all right. Now, less than or equal to. So it's the same thing, less than or equal to. We use this one. So the same approach, we use less than or equal to. Then we print again, and then we get the result. So these are common dynamics that we need to understand. Okay, let's look at the logical operators, and we should be done for the day. So for logical operators, we have and, not, and or. X is equal to true, y is equal to true. Result is assigned to x and y. Print result. What do you think will be the answer? So you see that result, this is a variable holding x and also holding y. And we are saying they are all true. So result will be what? It will be true. You understand? So the whole point is, this is how we use the and, the not, and we could move forward and say x is equal to false, y is equal to true. Result is equal to x and y. Print result, and we could get false. The same thing for or. We do the same thing. We use the or. You see, this is we use the and, but now we are using the or. So we print and we get false. Now we move to the not operator. So we are saying that not x. So x is equal to false. Then we use the not operator, which is the not, just the not. Okay. All right. Then just say true, not equal to what? X. So it's false. It's true. Now let's do our simple calculator. Then we are done. Now in our simple calculator, we are saying that number 1 is equal to float. Enter the first number. Number 2 is equal to float. Enter the second number. Which now we know that we are only accepting floating numbers. So if you go and enter 2, you get error, which we will do that later. Now, performing arithmetic operations, which we understand that now. Displaying results, which we understand now. So let's see how it works. Okay, let's see how it works. So let's run this. So now enter first number. So first number is float, so I will say 30.7. enter second number. I will say 20.8 or 0.98. enter. Okay, then let's see the result. So you see, the ones I entered, I'm getting all these results. And that is how operators in Python are. So you see, today we've looked at basic, which is the syntax and semantics. We've looked at variables. We've looked at data types. We've looked at operators. Okay, so this is really key. The reason why I am not rushing, I want you guys to understand the basics when it comes to Python. So when I start teaching you machine learning, you will be good. You will know how to write your codes, and you understand the code. Even if you are using ChatGPT to support you, you understand whatever ChatGPT is giving to you. That is the whole goal. Okay? Okay. Now, I'm done with for today's session. And if you have any question,